as I said, you know, Coffee in CHIKAHAN is really about connecting with our community despite the physical distancing. And it's a real opportunity for the entrepreneurs to connect and build our barrio, wherever they may be through this time. Obviously, our events have been postponed with Melbourne Food and Wine, but we thought, let's pivot our way and look at continuing to build our community through this time, which is really important. So, as mentioned, today is our second edition of Coffee in CHIKAHAN, and we've got some amazing guests with us today. But before we get on to that, I'll get Grace to just run through the format of today's session.
Yeah, sure. So before we go into guest introductions, I wanted to sort of highlight to the folks that have joined us via video or from the comforts of their own beds that there is a Q&A that's available for you, Q&A format and button on the Zoom. You'll look at the underneath your Zoom bar, you'll actually be able to see, and you can submit your questions there via the Q&A box on your screen. But if you're on the phone, all you have to do is actually tap the bottom of your screen and you'll see this pop up. And again, so feel free to actually enter in your question. And if you feel like you're up for a bit of FaceTime, make sure to actually let us know that you're willing and able to ask your question in person, and we'll unmute you and also put the video on yourself as well. So it's a great time to connect face-to-face on a virtual basis if you would like to. But without further ado, let's get into the guest intros. So we're going to start with Jem, and you know, just wanted to sort of get an introduction of yourself, Jem, for the folks that don't know who you are, what you do, and for our, you know, icebreaker, really just want to sort of to meet in person at your fave cafe. Where would that be, and what would you be ordering?
Fave cafe. I'd be silly not to say Daily Greens. And
oh yeah, that's right. Well, that's a good segue into what
nice
you do.
Segue.
Right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I would have to say Daily Greens and mushroom with the soft scrambled eggs on Sonoma sourdough.
Wow.
I mean, it's really it's a great dish that Chef Charles put together. Yeah, it's one of our best sellers. So yeah, there, the Daily Greens in Paddington, Sydney.
Amazing. So tell us a bit more about yourself, Jem.
I mean, I moved to Australia a couple of years ago from LA. Before that, I was in New York for many, many years. I was born in New York. That's a whole different story, but I didn't grow up there. Yeah, I moved here 2 years ago because I remotely started a small little poke bowl in Byron Bay, which while I was living in LA, I was waiting for my mom and my sister for something for them to do. I had a couple businesses in LA that I was working on. Anyway, the time came that you know, we had a little success with that small little poke store in Byron, and decided as a family we decided to move to Australia to, you know, to be closer to family as well as expand what we had there. We had something, and yeah, and here we are a couple of years later. We have 7 stores collectively with the 2 brands, and yeah,
That's
amazing.
awesome.
And so I guess for us, I'm just seeing if Nicole can.
Yeah, she can
Can
hear us
you hear
now.
us? Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
How are you? Okay, good.
I'm good.
Good. All right, we can hear you. How are you?
Yeah.
You can hear us.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
there she is. Hello. Okay.
Hi.
Nicole, we've just had an introduction of Jem. Can we get you to introduce yourself as well, please?
Hi. Yeah, my name is Nicole Ponseca. I had a restaurant called Maharlika that I opened in 2011, and it was arguably the first Filipino pop-up, if not the first pop-up at that time. Then I opened another place called Jeepney about 8 months later. I wrote a cookbook called I Am a Filipino. It's great. Maharlika was wonderfully reviewed. Jeepney got 2 stars in the New York Times. The book was nominated for a James Beard. And I introduced eating with hands. And I think a lot of people have done it. We won Best Burger in New York. And actually we won Battle of the Burger. So that was pretty cool.
Was that the Time Out one, or is that something else? Another one?
What's
I
that?
heard about
Was
that.
that Time Out? Was that Time Out? Battle of the Burger.
It was sponsored by Time Out, and 20,000 people voted.
Wow.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So that is called a Troy Burger. It was inspired by some of my travels at the Philippines. That specifically, all my food is either based on research or from my childhood or travels in the Philippines. And that was inspired by a burger in Boracay. I had no intention of doing that kind of stuff. Most of the things that we've done is rooted in some sort of history. I don't like to just slap something on it, you know, put it out there. So it's been good. I think people respond cerebrally to us in the beginning because they knew it wasn't gimmicky, you know?
Yeah. Just on your book that was nominated for a James Beard Award, the title "I Am a Filipino." Can you give us a bit of background where you came up with that title and why you chose that title?
Yeah. So, all right, got it. I did love a poem and speech by Carlos Romulo, who was a general in the 1940s, and 1940s, no, 1946. I got the rice. Don't worry about it. I got it. And he wrote a speech, a rousing speech called "I'm a Filipino," and it spoke to me the first paragraph because it said I have an obligation to my past and a duty to generations forward. And that to me was what I intended with this restaurant. I had no intention of being a restaurant owner, you know. I thought I was going to be in advertising. This for me was a rallying cry to stop the colonialism, put a fork in the ground to the food, which, you know, there are plenty of restaurants before me, plenty of restaurants after me, but I said no more hiya. So if we want to eat balut, we eat balut, but there was no more eating in shadows. And so "I'm a Filipino" was that, you know, in essence, and the typography is rooted in a 1968 civil rights poster called "I'm a Man." So it's all, you know, I tend to be political, but you can do that in a way that's really entertaining. And provide depth and flavor where, you know, you can have a mom and a daughter talk about food and then say, "Who's Imelda?" because I had eggs Imelda.
Yeah.
You know, and
I like that. That's great.
Yeah, or eggs.
You get people talking about it through the experience of the food at Maharlika or a jeepney, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Amazing.
So I hope that's a good intro.
Yeah. No, that was amazing. Amazing.
Actually, as you mentioned the eggs Imelda, I know listening to your past podcast that you had, Jem, with Mark Burris, the mentor. You mentioned your foray, or like your family's, I guess, migration to America was somewhat forced or influenced by the Marcos regime. Is that anything that you could sort of, you know, play?
I mean, I was born during my family's exile, and it happened to be in New York. So that I was born in New York, and spent, you know, a couple of first years of my life. But yeah, and then I moved to Asia, and didn't move back to the States till 2008, which coincidentally back to New York to be in the hospitality or the restaurant industry. And that's where I began my career. I mean, my business career there in the restaurant industry. Not Filipino food, but coming straight off the boat from the Philippines. And going into fine dining in New York City. So it was a big jump from my scrap metal background, from our steel background. But just been entrenched in it since then. But yeah, so we're exiled by the Marcoses. When martial law was inflicted, my family was in Italy at the time, and ended up finally got passports and ended up in the States, and that's why I was born in New York. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Because many of us as migrant kids, we came over here in Australia. Many of us came during the 70s migration wave. So it probably was it probably wasn't necessarily sort of influenced as much by the Marcos law regime as it was in the States with the the Filipino diaspora heading to the States. So great opportunity, as you said, Nicole, that when you have menu items that invoke that conversation, it's a good way for the elder Filipinos to be able to pass on that knowledge base, because without that, we generally tend to forget, you know, what has happened in the past and what we need to sort of be aware of as we navigate into the future as well. But it obviously also invokes that level of resiliency that Filipinos are well regarded for. COVID, it obviously sort of invokes that requirement to be resilient now and to actually realize that everything is cyclical. This will pass.
Yeah.
But, you know, what do we do in the meantime as we continue to keep our food operations going?
So maybe that's a good segue into the next question. So how are you both staying positive and taking care of yourself and your businesses at this time? Jem,
I'll go after you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I'll go after you.
All right. Well, like you said, you know, the world is resilient. Filipinos are resilient. Economies are cyclical. If you look back, they are about 12, 13-year cycles. We've had the last recession was 08, 09, started in the States with the whole finance crisis, and then before that was 96, which was the Asian crisis, which also led to a global recession, somewhat. So we're back here again. I mean, from my experience in the Philippines, 96. That previous recession has set the foundation for me right now, actually, because my family, our family had a very large business there, and our issue back then was we did not react fast enough in terms of downsizing and reacting to the current conditions. And that really created a big problem for us financially, and took us. It was very hard to rebuild after that. So right now, and then 08, same thing again. We did react fast, but not, big improvement, but not fast enough again. So this time around, obviously the start of the downturn in sales and business and all that, I decided to react much faster based in seeing where the world is headed financially, and through obviously now this recession is created by the virus, previously different reasons, but it is a recession or going into a recession, and we need to act fast. So personally, what I've done, I closed 2 of my units straight away to conserve our resources, to be able to get through the hard times and reopen stronger. But also using this right now, what we're using this time to strategize, realign ourselves for reopening and reopening with a bang. New menu ideas, this is a reset. For the whole world is going through a reset. So if we're focusing on business right now, I would say we have a business reset. We have an opportunity to reunite with our clients later on, re-wow them. The ones that we've lost, we have a fresh set of eyes. We can get them back. This and that. So there is light and silver lining at the end of the tunnel in terms of business and all that. It will be a long road to recovery, but just use this time productively. And I'm using my team and I are using this time productively, or what's left of the team, productively to be bigger, better, and stronger. Having said that, also, I think in the industry as a whole, and I'm speaking in Australia for now, in terms of Australia, I think Australian operators are going to have a much better appreciation for the clientele, because business is tough, it's hard. Also, I think Australia in general hasn't been known for the best hospitality service, and that's comments I've been hearing left and right. I think there's now with a new appreciation of clientele, I think that will change. And also in terms of service, the people in the industry also will understand that, the work is, they're not bulletproof anymore, and the benchmark has to go higher. And so there'll be some improvement. What I'm getting at is there's going to be improvements, and people's eyes have opened up. mentalities have changed. We'll know we're not, you know, and we will create positives out of the negative.
Yeah.
And just be bigger, better, and stronger. And that's provided we can get through this.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive. Again, I'm just signed an offer for a new lease next year, and with all the uncertainty, I do believe there's also opportunity, you know, opportunities in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's not purely on a business side, but community-based wise, we've taken a lot of action. I mean, we like Daily Greens, for example, is a community-based business. You know, we're the first ones to start. You know, everyone's starting these veggie boxes and this and that. We're the first one that we got featured in you know, current affair and this and that, to extend our wholesale connections direct to our consumers at wholesale prices. No, obviously for no financial gain or anything. It's just really to help the community get access to prices that are cheaper than the supermarkets and stay out of the craziness of the supermarkets, and also the safety of their own home, because it's home delivery and so on and so forth. You know, we're doing some silly stuff with FinPoke, like giving out free toilet paper when you order a meal.
You buy me.
You know, just for fun, you know, keeps people as well. I mean, you know, everyone's hoarding toilet paper. We're giving it away. And we went 3-ply. We didn't even go cheap, you know. We went.
Oh, good on you.
3-ply. Amazing.
You know, but little things, we're trying to keep smiles on people's faces, people fed. You know, we're offering deals. We're subsidizing, you know, the delivery fees on the apps like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and that kind of thing. So just trying to do our part, and also to keep afloat and keep. The main thing why we're also keeping our doors, all 3 of our doors open that are left, is just to keep our employees employed. We're obviously, you know, hemorrhaging money, but there is no business. I mean, there is very minimal business. It's as long as I can cover the, you know, my employees' wage, I can keep them on board. You know, if we're lucky to get the cost of goods back, great. That's it. So that's my main focus. Just keep as much of the team employed as possible. You know, we're all back to basics. I'm working in the stores. You know, I'm jumping around the stores, working till doing what I can. You know, moving stock from different stores back and forth. You know, little things like that. Just to keep everything moving and to you know, to be strong and reopen as soon as possible.
Stronger. Amazing initiatives, and good on you for keeping as much of your staff on hand, because they are such an important part of
you know, it's the family. It's part of the family, and we're only as successful as the team we have. You know. And we can't. No one can do it on their own.
Of course. Nicole, how about you? What's life like over there right now for you?
You guys are having it tough in New York. Huh? My heart goes out to you guys.
Thanks. You mentioned something cyclical in the food at the top of the mark, and just wanted to reference that a bit. I think we're experiencing some political recycling, and I think whether that's in the Philippines or the US, Reaganomics, that kind of blasé attitude toward the impoverished or race relations is no doubt because we don't remember history or we sugarcoat it. So
short memories too,
short memories for sure.
Short memories. I mean, that's the fault of education. How are we educating kids, teenagers? What are the electives in college and what is the narrative in which we're talking about it? So just because you're a president doesn't mean you're a hero, nor does it mean you're necessarily a villain, but what are the facts? So I like to discuss that over food, what better place, you know, in an innocuous way, which is why I did that. And I think we can find that to be true again with this pandemic, the Spanish flu, I think in the 100 years ago. Sorry if I'm not looking at the camera. I'm packing food while I'm.
You're multitasking.
Right.
Well done. I wouldn't.
Superwoman.
2 things at once. That's amazing.
So we're redoing Spanish flu or whatever it was called. I think.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
1918. Hold on. I just got to get this order. Hi. What's the name? Susie. Susie. Yeah. 1 second. And what am I doing to survive? Here you go. Yeah, thank you very much. You're looking at it. So we're feeding hospitals. First thing is, I'd love to say that my heart goes out to everyone first. That's not necessarily the case. This is survival. So it really is almost a case of put the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can be a benefit to others.
Very well said.
And for me, it's not necessarily financial, although I am feeling certainly a pinch. It is my mental health. And being able to work is a luxury. And being able to work at something that you love to do is definitely first world problems.
Yeah.
What Confucius said, yeah, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, you know?
Yeah. So when I was down for about, I'd say 2 weeks, I was going into the second week, I was like, fuck this. When I knew that we could open, and I'm on a couple of New York City threads. So it's not to say that we were killing it, you know, and they were not killing it. People were like, this sucks, I'm gonna close down. I showed up on a Sunday, I called my sous chef, and I was like, do you wanna work? And he's like, you got work? I was like, I got fucking work. So he's like, okay, I'm there. And we did 0 orders. Hi, what's the name?
Quincy.
Quincy, 1 second. We did 0 orders on the first day, 3 orders on the second day. And I told Dio, listen, if we don't get more orders, you got Quincy? You're still making Quincy, right? If we don't get more orders, we may have to close next week. So then something happened on that Friday and it went bananas. Like the were coming in. By bananas, let's take a pause. It's like 10 orders, sorry.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah.
No one's buying Rolexes over here, much less paying. So I was like, hold tight. And then, you know, I post on social media, not for attention, because it's a creative outlet for me. And I'm an only child, so I'm just talking to myself anyway. You know what I mean?
You know that, right? You know that, Jem.
I'll follow you. Don't worry. I'll follow you on Instagram. And I'll listen to you. Don't worry.
The fact that anyone has any interest in what I have to say or do is really a surprise to me, because I'm just talking to myself like I always have. You're waiting for Quincy. Who are you waiting for? What's your name? You. What's your name? Jenny. You got Christine. I've got Layla.
Nicole to come back.
Yeah.
Nicole, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have an interesting story. When I was living in New York, before I moved to LA, I was at a bar, I don't know if you remember, Cafe 81 or something like that, down on the east side somewhere, yeah. So I was there really late at night, off my tits, and drunk as a skunk, and sitting at the bar, but I do remember this very, very well. A gentleman was sitting at the bar as well, just came up, and started talking to the Dominican guy, saying, hey, I'm opening a Filipino restaurant. And I'm like, where are you from? I'm from the DR.
Oh my God, it was...
I shit you not. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I mean, I'd never forget it. It's because a guy from the Dominican Republic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, wow.
So this popped back into my mind when this whole thing came around. I'm like, I remember this guy, and of course, when you guys opened, we went there to support you guys. We could have crossed paths, Nicole. I'm sure. But I met Miguel, right?
Miguel, yes.
Yeah, Miguel.
Randomly at a bar, like I think 2 in the morning, and never spoke to him after that until I went to Marlica.
Oh my God!
Wow.
What a nice connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my connection to you, Nicole.
I love it. Thank you.
It's so great. I never forget. I mean, I forgot everything about that day and all that because of the condition I was in. But I remember that conversation, and I still have that card. I tried looking for it for the meeting because he gave me. You guys weren't open yet. I think it was an idea, but he had the Maharlika name calling card.
The logo.
And the logo
amazing.
on it, and I still have it somewhere here, I'm pretty sure, and I'll send you guys a picture of it.
Oh my gosh,
That's
so good.
awesome. I love
And that's how
that.
many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
That's a
very
long
interesting.
time
But and you
ago.
guys, and I'm so happy you guys had all the success, you know, together. It's great.
Success
And
is
I love how
relative.
the story behind how you chose Maharlika, because if you just look at the name, you just think, oh, that's a beautiful, pronunciation of a term. But then when you think back on it, as you mentioned, Paul, you always look for ways to actually, highlight the educational piece of why you've chosen to go that route. And hearing about the fact that Maharlika was actually the name for our motherland before it was colonized by Portuguese, right?
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing way to sort of say, oh my gosh, that is, let me sort of get my curiosity to lead me to more information about what the pre-colonial country used to be and how it was regarded the rest of the world and our countrymen. So I love those little nuggets of knowledge that you embed in.
Nuggets of knowledge, I like that. I'm going to borrow that one. Nuggets of knowledge.
Nuggets of knowledge.
Nuggets.
I love it.
I love a good chicken nugget.
Me too, especially with the kids. That's the only thing that I'm pretty much, cooking for them on rotation right now.
Yeah. Should we? I'm just
Thanks
looking
for
at
the
some of
acknowledgement.
the. Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
thank
Nicole.
you.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. That I thought.
No, not at all. It's fine. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is CHIKAHAN for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that we're talking about, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, Jem, is, what does the new normal look, what do you think it will look like? There's obviously, there'll be quite a bit of change in the industry, within our community, within our cities, within the world. But from your perspective, and within your own, I guess, world, your own, environment, what would you like to see change or remain?
I'll speak purely on a bit. I think this conversation is going very well. Nicole is on the political and philosophy side. I guess what I'll touch on is on purely on the business or commerce side. That way you have, I guess, two dynamics, for the conversation. The biggest problem, I think, one of the major problems we have now, obviously, besides the virus and all that, is the lack of visibility for tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow? What's going on? Change for sure. The world is changed. It's going through. I see it as a reset. All that. What I'd like to see change. What's going to happen is, unfortunately, a lot of the weaker operators will not get through this. I don't know if I will or not, or how long this will go. I'm not right. Currently, we're in all right position. We're suffering, but mentally and physically and optimistic wise, we're very, we're go. But yeah, it's definitely, there's going to be a lot of change. So go back to what I was saying with the the smaller operators, the mom and pops. And these are all very relevant operators and all that. Unfortunately, a lot of them will not be able to make it through.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, at least, and again, speaking on what I see visibly here in Australia. I'm not speaking for the States. I've been out of there for 2 years. I don't know, and Nicole probably can touch more on the climate there because she's ground zero. But yeah, again, what I said earlier. You'll see smarter operators. We're learning every day. I've from an economic and business perspective, I've seen where I could save by being back in the grind, every day in the stores and working from morning to night. I see where I can how we can come out of this, a little more efficient, better. We see a lot of improvements. So again, that a lot of people will be going through that, and you'll see much sharper operators, much sharper operations for the ones that come through. And again, like I said, I found 10% of labor costs that I can trim easily. That's huge. 10% in labor cost is massive. So and little things like that, with our cost of goods sold and tweaking and all that. Yeah. So that's what changes will happen, provided we make it through to the other side. You'll again, cleanse, reset. You'll see a lot less, you'll see a lot less restaurants and food businesses reopen. So yeah, so it's going to be a very, market shares will shift, things like that. So I don't know what's going to happen, down, but that's definitely, there's going to be a lot of change, and that's already apparent now. People are just have thrown in the towel and then not continuing through. So
and do you think, Jem, so that's from a business perspective, but how about, you talked about improvements across, better, new appreciation of clientele.
Yeah.
So is that from businesses obviously appreciating, I guess, patronage,
people,
customers, but vice versa too? I want to get your perspective on what you think customers' expectations will be. Will they change over this time?
I think they're more forgiving. They'll be more forgiving for sure. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
We see it right now because we're, running a skeleton crew. Like I do, for example, our Burley store. I do the till, and I've got one cook in the back. And the other day we had, we were very blessed and lucky to have a line that was 3 deep or 4 deep, which was very exciting for us.
Yeah.
And, of course, just with 2 of us, the waits would be, there were big orders and this and that. We had a couple online orders. So they're more forgiving. They're more patient. Pre-COVID, these guys would be like, hey, get your shit together, and we'd hear about it in Google reviews right away. Yeah. And shit like that. So people are more forgiving, more patient, more appreciative, and see the amount of work that goes into our industry and the stress and all that, because we're honestly, hospitality, I've been in a couple industries. I've been lucky to be exposed to a couple other industries, and definitely hospitality is one of the hardest businesses in the world to do. There's so many variables. You have 50 ingredients. That's 50 things that can go wrong, or 50 things that can go missing. Shit like that. So a new appreciation, vice versa. Yes, for us, for the clientele, like shit, shit can happen, and big shit can happen real fast. So and also clients, like, we're fighting through and we're suffering, but we're staying open and trying to be part of the community and feed people and not profiteering at the same time. I mean, we're open for the right reasons. We're generally, like, every week FinPoke is doing an initiative. For example, we're feeding a different hospital every week. This week was the Gold Coast Hospital. Last week was the Robina Hospital. All the frontliners. So we're being very proactive and keeping ourselves busy, because we're definitely not busy with customers. That's for sure. Yeah. I'm very happy to see Nicole. She's there. She's got, there's business coming to the door, and that's great, and I wish to be that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've touched on a really important aspect, is community, and people will remember the businesses that have contributed to their community in some way or form during this really difficult time, and you're both doing amazing in that space. Nicole, what's your perspective on, I guess, what the new normal will look like post-COVID? Sorry, I don't know what we're doing.
Oh, it's froze. It just froze. Oh, her mic's
is it? Okay.
So maybe while she's coming back on, can you give us more insights on how those conversations have gone with your landlords? Because you obviously have, a variety of landlords that you're dealing with, major shopping precincts, and also, high street type areas. Yeah. What has been the type of conversations you've had, and what type of hints and tips can you give to others that may find themselves in similar scenarios where landlords and leases is top of their priority?
Look, everyone needs to play ball. I mean, and here, I mean, actually, all our landlords, we're very lucky. We approached them early, and reached out to all of them to be proactive. We understand there's no solutions at the moment, but they're also being very helpful. Basically, our rent's on hold for all our stores. We've been very, very, very lucky, and we're in talks with the landlords to figure it out. So far, I mean, I won't mention names or locations, but some have already said, hey, for the next 3 months, we'll stop the rent and let's talk again after closer to the date and see how we go. And generally that's kind of the consensus that's overall. So what I urge operators to do right away and without delay, and it's the first thing they should have done, is send an email to or communicate with the landlords to start a dialogue, because landlords also too are unsure what's happening. We're everyone's on the same boat here, but and we both need each other. Before, it was the landlord that has the upper hand because there's so many punters and they're ready. Like if a place is vacant, there was demand for commercial real estate. Now, if we close, when things open up again, no one's opening stores. No one's opening stores. I think I'm the only crazy one, but I'm already committed, you know, and so so they're going to have an empty spot, and that they're going to lose revenue. So everyone needs to work with each other to get through it. I'll definitely see a lot of lease renegotiations but it's, again, we don't have, like I said earlier, we don't have the visibility. You don't know what's happening next week. You don't know how long this thing's going on for. What we do know is we will get through it, you know, after a certain point of time. And we just need and then we need to wait and see, and day by day, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, communicate to landlords right away. Get a dialogue going. Get an understanding going. I mean, we're doing what, 10% of what we normally do, if that, on certain days, not even. And yeah, so no one can make rent. And if anybody's saying they're doing well in the restaurant business during these hard times, I sincerely doubt. I think they're lying.
Yeah, it's really hard. Okay.
May I ask how your conversations have also gone with your staff? Because you obviously relatively new sort of foray into the food business here in Australia. Keeper, you know, the JobKeeper sort of program, you know, takes into account that the employees have for about 12 months. Obviously means that there are a lot that are not going to be covered by that.
Correct. I've got out of all the stores, I've got 3 that are qualified for this JobKeeper, mostly because my staff, mostly casuals. Again, most of our stores are very new, like less than a year. I think older stores, a couple of years. So yeah, so we got 3. Our staff, we've communicated to our staff. Everyone's understanding. Everyone's on the same boat. This is one of those. You know, usually in recessions, there's gainers and losers. Here, we're 95% losers, and everyone's on the same boat. So everyone has a common acceptance of the situation and are much more understanding. So all our staff, they know it's temporary, and I have every intention of getting them back online with us once we can afford to. And they understand that the actions we took swiftly are for the future. I've explained that to them. I'm like, yeah, sure, we can run and deplete all our resources and our reserves real fast. But then we'll have you know, a less chance of reopening. So it's really, you have to again, you have to be smart and strategize about you know, the actions you take now every day, and decisions have to be made every day. It's not like, oh, let's do this for this week. No, it's daily and it's constantly changing.
Right? Yeah,
it's
really
frustrating.
hard.
It's tiring. It takes a lot of energy, physically and mentally, but you got to do it. Staff have been great. We're in constant touch with them. They could pop in the stores, say good day, you know, and you know, of course, we come and feed them. We take care of everybody as much as we can. But yeah, so they've been understanding. I'm sure they're having it tough. And we also hire a lot of foreigners, overseas students, and this and that, and they don't have any benefits, and so it's even tougher on them. And which, I mean, it is what it is, and the government does have to focus on its citizens. But yeah, there are also those people that are in, you know, worse positions as well. So, but yeah, we're doing our best. We're really doing our best. We're maintaining. Again, that's why I'm keeping these 3 stores open, to rotate some staff, give them some pay, you know, and as much as possible. I mean, I'm not, obviously, I'm working there to support them. I'm not on a shift. I'm not getting paid for it, obviously. But I'm just there to support them, because we can only afford 1 at a time, for example. But to make it a little easier on them, so I'm bouncing around to just.
And your trading hours, have they changed as well? Like
for poke, no. Daily greens, yes. We've limited to 1 shift. We've just also recently stopped serving coffee because we can't afford a barista just for coffee. It doesn't sustain it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we have one chef there that takes the orders, makes the food, and delivers, because that's what the volume allows. If we had a higher volume, I mean, if the volume was better, I'd put more staff on, but it just doesn't make it, it's not viable as it is now, but we're still doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and just sipping from our reserves rather than keeping everyone on and burning through it and then dying a quick death, you know?
Yeah, goodness. All right.
So that's sort of the way we're working, you know, we're playing our cards.
Yeah. I don't know. I think just with Nicole, I think she's just stepped out. We had a bit of connection issues there. Hopefully she'll dial back in. But we might move on to, I guess.
Oh, there. Welcome back, Nicole.
There she is. All right. We might
so she's connecting to audio now, so.
Audio, okay. We might get her perspective before we do a Q&A, you think? Nicole, can you hear us? No, not yet.
So maybe we'll pull up a Q&A. I know there's two on the queue.
Oh,
here we go. Here we go. Nicole's back.
Hey, Nicole.
I'm back. Hi.
Hey.
So, just wanted to get your perspective on what you think the new normal look like for you once COVID-19 finishes at some point.
Yeah, I don't understand. I turned this off so I could do this call. The orders are like ridiculously coming in, obviously. That's what happened. I think you're going to have a dearth of mom and pops. I think you're going to see a groundswell of supreme chains.
Okay.
That is going to be who will have the ability to survive financially. And their business model is such that, you know, look at McDonald's, they don't even have employees anymore to the extent on front of house. So you'll see what really created real estate value and a neighborhood feel, and probably first dates, marriages, christenings that gave life to all of us around the world who have the luxury to dine out. And in New York specifically, we have the smallest apartments. So these restaurants become living rooms.
Very true,
and
yeah.
for people who are new to the restaurant industry as an industry professional or service worker, sometimes I think that they're surprised that how much they become part of people's families. And they become friends. At least in my restaurants, they have become sometimes lifelong friends with guests. I realize that is often for owners or operators because that you operate on that level. But, you know, I'm talking about servers and bartenders have become really close, like family. And I don't use that word lightly. I think a lot of operators use the word family when they talk about restaurants, and I get it, it's close, people get married, they hook up, you know, but it is more about a team, because sometimes I think when we refer to our staff as family, that you override boundaries, like you expect way more. You know, it's still about respect of like your time, and I prefer to call it team, but with our guests, you become family. So what are other industry trends? I think you're going to see a lot of, well, what I'm planning to do with my business is I'm definitely changing the operations menu, and I'm taking over wholeheartedly now. So
amazing.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, totally.
Very well said.
Yeah, we've got a question for you, Nicole. Just moving on to Q&A. There's a question for you. Actually, it's like 3 questions in the one. What sort of meals are you making for the healthcare workers? Have you received any messages through social media from those that have eaten your meals? They're just wondering if you're receiving any feedback or messages from those you're providing food to.
I have received photos with thumbs up.
Oh, amazing, yeah. Are you sharing that on social as well, right? Because I'm seeing some of that.
Yeah, from time to time.
Yeah.
And what was the other question? What's the feedback?
Yeah.
Mostly the feedback is, when are you going to come to my hospital? Or my department?
Yeah.
We're serving, I'm providing 4 options. Chicken, basically tocino, pork longanisa, beef tapa, which I just revised the recipe and I love, and a cauliflower vegan dish, and little lumpia. It's complete.
And you're writing personalized messages on your bat or
yes,
on them. It's amazing. Like, how do you even get a list of all the health workers? Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's so funny you said that, because the woman who was organizing this, she said that they did appreciate all the handwritten notes.
Yeah.
Goes a long way. Goes a long way.
It does.
It does.
Jem, what question for you? So someone's interested to hear about where and when you lived in the Philippines and what was your favorite street food?
Okay. Philippines, since 1986, after martial law, my family was allowed, we could return. I've been basically spending 4 months of the year there until I moved back fully in 99, 2000. I was there. Full time. I was living in. They wanted to know where I live in Makati. Our family's always been in Makati for the longest time. In Metro Manila, and favorite dishes. I mean, I'm a sucker for nilaga, man. Nilaga is my thing. All day long, you know.
Yeah.
Beef or baboy?
Beef.
Beef, yeah.
And I like with beef ribs, you know, short ribs.
Oh yeah.
My wife's mastered that dish, you know, over the years, and we use beef short rib for.
How about street food? You have a favorite street food?
Gosh, you know the
Adidas,
fish balls.
what are they? Oh, fish balls.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
The fish balls and the sauce. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Oh yeah. And even better when you. Yeah, I know we got to hold off on double dipping, but when you double.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
satisfying.
That's
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, when after a big night out, you know, outside the bars, you know.
That's right.
Your guy with his cart. That's it.
This is for both of you.
Don't normally do that when I'm sober, but anyway.
I know. Well, it's like those bacon wrapped hot dogs in the LA streets.
They're great. They're the best.
I know.
Question for both of you. If you could, from Joanna, thanks Joanna for your question. If you could open up a restaurant anywhere in the Philippines, where would it be and why?
Is that for me?
For both of you. So anyone can chiming in.
I've invested in several restaurant investments in the Philippines at the moment. So yeah, I have been active there. I'm a silent partner, but we have a few locations there now.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Are they in Poblacion or Makati or
Makati, Port, Manila, Locavor. The concept's called Locavor, and it's our take on Pinoy food. So I'm a small part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have 5-6 locations now.
Okay,
that's
cool.
amazing.
Nicole,
one of the places to check out.
Yeah. One other question, and it's actually one of our own questions as well. Would we see at some point in the future perhaps a restaurant from both of you in Melbourne?
She likes to add these into the mix for sure.
Go on, Nicole. We'd love to see you in Australia.
Nicole,
I know, Nicole.
Honorary
Nicole.
Australian.
Yeah, so after her sort of foray for the Melbourne Food and Wine last year,
you guys got great food.
Top on her list.
Here.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to go. I think, also contributing to female entrepreneurship and being a person of color, I'd love to do that. And for me, though, I no longer want to do it like this. It's like running an independent way off. We're talking New Jersey off-Broadway play. And it's been great, and I feel fueled by my sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But
you've done an amazing job.
Yeah, so amazing.
But I'm looking for operating partners now, someone who would want to help scale it and take the brand and run with it that way. This has been great, but I can only get so far without a team behind me. And I think I've done a lot for the brand recognition, and we've never had PR. We've never had a publicist.
That's great.
So it is. It's been wonderful. But in order for me to get to the next stage, I'd want a serious operator that has experience and sees my value in, look at it like fashion, like
Nicole, over here. That is amazing. Right, Jem?
I think so. Yeah, Nicole, once this thing opens up, I'm going to come and see you and have a meal at Jipney. Let's talk.
Well, she can travel down here. Both of you come to
You know what?
Melbourne.
Come here. We'll show you around.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's
Back
right.
in Melbourne, I reckon will be amazing.
All right. So we're almost to the end of our conversation, but we wanted to sort of fit in something a little bit fun. We're going to do a lightning round of rapid fire questions, the this or that, right? So there'll be a couple of sort of questions in different categories, and speak out as to which one sort of is this or that for you. Okay, sinigang or kare-kare?
Sorry,
Sinigang or kare-kare? What's your preference?
sinigang.
Facts.
Okay.
All right, lechon or crispy pata?
Lechon.
How about you, Nicole? Lechon
Nicole,
or crispy
lechon or
pata?
crispy pata?
Crispy pata.
Yeah.
Pansit bihon or pansit palabok?
Palabok.
Palabok.
Palabok. Yeah.
Okay. Bibingka or ensaymada?
What was the
Sorry?
first one?
Bibingka or ensaymada?
Babinka.
Bibingkas.
Okay. Champurrado or taho?
Taho.
Taho.
Yeah.
Oh,
We just got one off, Nicole, you and I.
yeah, I know. All right. If the magic mic was being passed around, would it be Celine Dion or Mariah Carey?
Sorry, what was the first one?
If the magic mic was being passed around, would it be Celine Dion?
I'll answer truthfully, but I'll let Nicole go first.
Celine Dion or Mariah Carey?
Shit. When would I sound better? I'll say Mariah Carey.
Okay.
We're off a line there.
Okay.
Celine Dion, and I may have sang a Celine Dion song in karaoke before. I may have.
Boracay or Palawan? Fishing spot.
Yes.
I like Boracay, but on the other side of the island.
Yes.
Right.
The surfers are, and it's really ragtag a little bit on that side. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm very boheme. I'm very like rugged. So.
Jeepney or tricycle?
Jeepney for me.
Jeepney. Nicole, jeepney or tricycle?
Tricycle.
Tricycle. Okay.
I didn't pick that one. I picked Jeepney, but anyway.
All right. How about TikTok or freestyle?
Oh, TikTok.
TikTok or freestyle? Woo!
Oh, yeah. Love it. Oh my God, that's so cool.
You see my son in action, right, girls?
I know. Luke is amazing. Oh
Hey,
my
Nick, are you on
gosh.
TikTok? Are you on TikTok?
Don't get me started, please. I'm already like Instagram.
Well, it's another creative outlet for you, but more in your dance, your dance.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think you'll be amazing. I'll look out for you. All right. I think that's it. We're not doing the Aussie slang one, are we? No? No, we'll finish up with that. All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap for us. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing hour of power of conversation with both of you. Nicole, amazing to see you multitasking there. It's amazing. I don't know how you do it.
Very
Phenomenal.
I know.
amazing.
Thank you so much for being part of our second episode of Coffee CHIKAHAN. And next week we do have Kathy Carpio, our Philippine collaborator, and also John Rivera, a local emerging talent here in Melbourne, to talk more about, I guess, their journeys. But for now, thank you so much. We are also, I guess you can remain connected to us at Entrepreneurs for those of you listening. And we welcome also your feedback and thoughts on different themes as well. Just to finish off, Jem and Nicole, do you have any sort of final words for our audience who's listening? Any final?
I'll go after Jem.
Okay. No, I just stay safe. Stay safe, stay healthy, be positive. You know, and just be optimistic and positive, and you know, we'll get through it. You know, the world's seen tough times, and the world is resilient. People are resilient. And yeah, just so that should give you enough to keep you positive.
Thanks, Jem. Nicole?
Thank you.
One of my final thoughts.
1 second.
Everyone's watching streaming
I think
TV
that-
right now. Go watch Parasite, because Parasite, there's some underlying economic sort of like conversation that the director Boone actually put in place. Like it came out of the major chain of Korean fried chicken came out of the financial crisis of Asia. So there's some good stuff that comes out of what happens during this cyclical moment of recession. So in Korea, that resulted in, the KFC, the Korean fried chicken phenomenon. So that's something to look out for.
I think if I were to say anything is that use this time wisely. I think it could get probably really easy to run into a routine where you're waking up, making a cup of tea or on the couch, you know. But if you can really use this time to add value to yourself or explore your emotional triggers or those who you love, like you will look back on this time and say, fuck, I could have done this. I should have done this. Like, yes, take a moment to acknowledge your emotions wherever those take you. But I hope you use this time to maybe even redefine yourself. I'm not even talking about a business, just who you are and how you want to show up in the world.
That's amazing. What a amazing thing to close up on. So, well, thank you again. And for now, on behalf of the entrepreneurs, we wish you all a happy Easter. Stay well, stay home, and stay blind.
Nice meeting you, Nicole. We'll be in.
Such a pleasure.
Nice meeting you.
A Melbourne
You're amazing.
reunion.
Keep up the good work, and I wish you all the best there. You're really in a tough part of town, you know, a tough part of the world right now.
Yeah.
Our
Sending our love.
hearts are with you all.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Take
Keep up the
care.
great work, Nicole. Thank you, guys.
See you.
Nice
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.